we were learning about Sukkot. We're learning that Sukkot is the topic of peace. And the Rebbe is asking the question, what does peace got to do with the Sukkah? And also, the other commandments in Sukkah, taking the lulav and etrog, that's best if it's done in the Sukkah. And also bringing the 70 oxes in the holiday. Also, how is that all connected to the whole idea of peace? And how are they connected to Sukkah? Then the Rebbe asks another question. 1 second. The Rebbe asks another question. Kabbalistically, the idea of what a sukkah is what's called a makif. In the holiday of Sukkot, when we sit in a sukkah, the sukkah surrounds us. As this refers to a revelation of God that's happening when we do the commandment. When we do the commandment, there's a revelation of God called a makif, a surrounding aspect of God that's above the world. In fact, it's even above being above the world. There's an aspect of God that creates the world. That's above the world. But then there's the aspect of God, for instance, that gave the Torah. So the Torah is before the world, and God is before the Torah. So the aspect of God that created the world, that's called a surrounding level. But that's what's called a makif, a karov. The aspect of God, though, that gave the Torah, that the Torah is before the world, and this is the aspect of God that gave the Torah, which is even above that. So that's what's called the makif or rachok. It's surrounding. Then there's another term that's used in Chassidut, which that's a more common term, and that's called yashiv, to sit, to make something settled. Right? Even in the normal world, when something is settled in your mind, it's clear to you, understandable, you've grasped it. So this is to us opposites. When you're in the sukkah grasps you, and it grasps you with this makif, surrounding level of godliness, which is above even being above all creation. We're not talking about spiritual worlds, that's creation. And that's what happens when we sit in the sukkah. We're being encompassed by an aspect of God which is totally above comprehension, above anything in the creation, even above being the creator. That's what we're sitting in the sukkah. Amazing. If so, how can we take this into yoshev? How can this be settled in our mind that we can understand it? We're sitting in the sukkah. Understanding means you take the idea inside of you. How could it be that the sukkah grasps you and you grasp it? And especially when we're referring to such a high level of God. But it's happening. But how? Then the Rebbe asks another question. It says in this sentence that the Mimor is based on, in Sukkot, you should sit 7 days. Now, every citizen of Israel will sit in the Sukkah in the future, in order that the future generations will know that you did sit in Sukkot when I took you out of Egypt 3,300 years ago. So the Rabbi asks the question, what does it mean? We sit in the sukkah now in order the future generations should know that God took us out of Egypt and put us in Sukkot back then. What, the future generations, they don't have to sit in Sukkot? Just the fact that we sit in a Sukkah now, that lets the future generations know that God took us out of Egypt and sat us in the Sukkah. That's not so. The way the future generations will know that God took us out of Egypt and sat us in Sukkahs is by means of they themselves sitting in the Sukkah, not by us sitting now. Why does it say we should sit in Sukkah now? In order the future generations should know that when God took the Jews out of Egypt, he sat them in Sukkot. Here the Sukkot is referring to clouds of glory, the clouds, Ananei HaKavod. So what does it mean that we should sit in Sukkah now in order that the future generations should know that they sat in Sukkot when they left Egypt? They'll know when they sit in Sukkot. That's the only way you can know is when you sit. So that's what the Rebbe asked here. Only the generations coming, they themselves have to sit in the Sukkah. 1 second, is this being shared to everybody? Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second. Is this not being shared? Huh? No, it's not being shared. Oh,
it's not being shared.
I'm sorry. Someone should have said something. Okay.
Sorry, I don't know.
No problem. Here we go. There we go. Now it's being shared. Is everybody admitted? Yes? Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, I'm trying to get this pointer here. There it is. All right. So what does it mean that we should sit in the Sukkah in order the future generations should know that God took us out of Egypt? They'll know when they sit in Sukkah. So the Rebbe said, and this is what we got up to yesterday. Actually, we finished this yesterday. So the Rebbe, there's another sentence, and it says, Tiku b'chor shofar b'chesa liyom chagenu. It says, sound shofar, which is concealed for the day of our rejoicing. Since it's in Psalms, right? Tiku b'chor shofar b'chesa liyom chagenu. So this refers to the holidays of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. It's not by accident that these three holidays happen in succession. It says on Rosh Hashanah we arouse a blessing of God. This is explained in long length, very beautiful in a booklet which is called Kuntras Umayan, from the 20th chapter on. There he explains that Rosh Hashanah, the sounding of the shofar, arouses an amazing blessing for the Jewish people. On Yom Kippur, that blessing is revealed a little bit more. It's really from a higher source, but it's revealed a little more. And it's especially revealed when the Kohen Gadol, when the priest went into the Holy of Holies with the incense. And that was all still concealed. When will it be revealed totally? B'yom Chagenu, on Sukkot. That everything which is concealed in Rosh Hashanah and in Yom Kippur is revealed in the holiday of Sukkot. You remember this? We learned this yesterday. For instance, the Rebbe says, if you count the number of sounds we make from the shofar, it comes out to be 100. 100 is the gematria of schach. Not only that, if you count how many shvorim we make, among those 100, 20 are shvorim. 20 are teruah. And 60 of them are the tekiyas. Because the tekiya comes before and after each set. Right? And shvorim are missing when you say teruah, tekiya, teruah, tekiya, then there's no shvorim. Then when you say the shvorim, there's no tekiah. So it ends up that there's 20 shvorim, 20 teruas, and 60 tekiyas. Dude, 60 tekiyas. That's exactly the letters of schach. Not only that, it says in the many Mimorim of Chassidut that in the schach of the sukkah is revealed the blessing of the incense, the cloud of incense from the Kohen when he went into the Holy of Holies. So all of that, the revelation of the sounding of the shofar and of the cloud, smoke from the Ketoret is all revealed in the schach. It's revealed. It's revealed in a surrounding way. True, it's above us, but it's all revealed. Now, true, this is all spiritual, yes, but we're all spiritual. Let's take an example. I mean, everybody has a soul. Your soul is spiritual. You don't feel your soul. You don't see your soul. You can't identify the soul. If a person's soul leaves his body, very slim chances that it'll come back. Soul is an amazing thing. All the doctors can. Soul is very spiritual. But on the other hand, it's the most obvious thing in the world that keeps us alive. That's us. It's the same thing with this Judaism. All the commandments that we're doing, they draw down a spiritual level, a soul into the world. True, maybe we don't feel it, but big tzaddikim do. They're not so concentrated on themselves. They feel these big revelations, and that's what the Rebbe is one of them, and he's telling us what's going on. It says the Rebbe, in the schach is revealed this tremendously high levels that were aroused when we sounded the shofar and when we did our prayers and fasted on Yom Kippur. Okay, the Rebbe said there's another thing also. The 70 oxes. The 70 oxes of Yom Kippur, of Sukkot rather. That's the korbanot. It says korbanot. But that we're not talking about being revealed in the sukkah. We'll talk about that later. Korbanot is from the language of karov, to come close. What is revealed in the schach of the sukkah? The ketoret. Ketoret of the Kohen Gadol. Ketoret means to be attached to Hashem. The korbanot, they go inside. They were eaten. That goes inside. The ketoret was only outside. It's the level of makif again. And that is revealed in this makif level of the sukkah. In other words, as high as the korbanot, the sacrifices were, it's nothing compared to the revelation of the incense, and especially on Yom Kippur. And that revelation is revealed in the schach of the sukkah. That's the soul inside of the schach. This cloud of incense, ketoret, is revealed in the schach. Okay. Now this is where we're beginning today. That was just repetition of what we did yesterday. Zui, this is a shaykh, the connection of sukkah to peace. Like we say in the prayers of Shabbat, right before Shmon Esrei, Shabbat, that since the sukkah is the level of a makif, since the sukkah is a revelation, but a revelation of a surrounding level of God, Shalamayla, which is above any sort of division, Nimshach mi'amakif to sukkah, therefore from sukkah there comes peace. Nasa shalom, there is made peace between the godly soul and the animal soul. Also, there's peace in all of the levels of the godly soul itself. In other words, once there's a common factor, and that common factor is more real than all of us, then that can bring peace between all opposites. Right? When the king appears and everyone loves the king and everybody believes in the king. So it could be that all of his ministers are arguing one with the other. But when the king comes, nobody argues. That's what's revealed. This tremendously high level makes peace between all opposites, harmony. That since that the sukkah surrounds every aspect of a human being, from his head until his feet, including his shoes, and therefore by means of the sukkah, there is brought peace into all of the levels in man. The sukkah envelops us, hugs us. There's a Maamar in Likutei Torah. It says, therefore, the minimum size of a sukkah is 2 complete walls and 1 small wall. Even could be 1 tefach, it says. And that's just like an arm that's hugging someone. There's 2 sides complete, and then your hand. It makes like the letter J. And that's the minimum size of a sukkah. So the sukkah is hugging us. Until the sukkah, there's made peace even in the world. It starts off in man, and sukkah brings peace in the world. Kiyadua, that it's known that the sukkah is like Noah's Ark. Tevat Noach. Really, it would be more appropriate to call it Noah's Ark. Sheba haya inyan shalom. That in Noah's Ark there was total peace. Even though there were all these different animals together, there were lions and leopards, and there was also nice sheep. And it says that the lions were only the not kosher animals. They only came 2. A male and a female lion, a male and a female leopard, a male and a female crocodile. But the kosher animals, they were 7. Shiva. So there was enough, the lions saw a lot of sheep, each lion. You'd think they would at least attack. It was too enticing. No. They were all together. The sheep weren't afraid either. Somehow they sensed that they were in no danger. They were all together in the ark. Nevertheless, they did not do bad and they did not destroy one the other. The ark wasn't that big. It certainly wasn't the size of a zoo. And nevertheless, there was peace. And this is something like the peace that's going to be Latid Lavo in the future. It says that in the future, that in the future it says the animals won't kill one another. The Rambam says that it was just a metaphor, and that it means that the people there won't be war between nations, which is a bigger miracle. Even though Shamakif the Sukkah, even though that this surrounding level of the Sukkah is external, comes from this external level of Bina, and the Tevat Noach was from the inside of Bina. The Makif of Sukkah that we sit in is not as high as the Makif of the Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark was a real amazing revealed miracle. The Makif we have now, we have to write about it in order to sense it a little bit. But the future redemption, the Makif that's going to be revealed there, will be higher than even this level of the inside of Bina. As it is in Bina itself. In other words, as high as the revelation was in Noah's Ark, but the source of that revelation was much higher. And in the future redemption is going to be revealed in the world even a higher level than that, higher level of truth. But nevertheless, so that the makif we have in the sukkah now, this revelation is lower, certainly lower than the revelation in the future, and even lower than the revelation that was in Noah's Ark. Nevertheless, the peace which is now revealed in the makif of our sukkah is something like the peace in the future. So in other words, it's happening. Okay, this might seem to be a little bit sort of, how do you say, removed from reality, but we have to remember that there was a place in the world called the Holy Temple. And in this Holy Temple was the same revelation that was on Mount Sinai. That's why the the tablets were in the Holy of Holies. So there was such a revelation of this in the world. What does it mean, a revelation? Everyone saw that God exists. Everyone saw that God is creating them. Everyone saw that they have an amazing purpose in the world, that the world is a big miracle. It says this, all the animals felt this in Noah's Ark. They were comforted. They knew they didn't have to worry and eat each other. They would be provided for. There was peace. That same peace is revealed now in the sukkah that we sit in. Because the reason in Noah's Ark that the animals didn't harm and they didn't destroy one another, and also the reason I'm saying that it'll happen in Lasid Lavo in the future, is because of what's called da'at. Da'at means, I want to call it awareness, total awareness, reality. Kamosha Messiah, like it says, Ki Malo or it's Deyatavai, because the world will be filled with the knowledge of God. Explains in the 3rd chapter of the Tanya that knowledge means attachment. Knowledge means attachment. It's like if you get a check for $10 million, but your name is not written on it. It's not written out to you. So you see the check for $1 million, you know, maybe I'll hold on to it. I'll find the person it belongs to. But if the check has your name on it, then suddenly you get excited. Your reaction is totally different. It's with your whole being. You get emotional. You're happy. All of a sudden you're afraid somebody will take it from all of your emotions suddenly are aroused. It becomes a deep thing that encompasses your whole being. That's called da'at. Da'at means realization that something is really, really valuable and it's really mine. Belongs to me. Relevant to me. Right? You have in some countries, I remember I went with my wife, we were in Mexico. We went to some sort of a outdoor show. I don't know what it was. People were happy and everything. Then there came, all of a sudden, someone came riding with a horse and he unfurled the Mexican flag. Oh, the crowd went wild. They all stood up. They saw the Mexican flag. It meant something to them. If he would have brought in a French flag, American flag, who cares? They brought a Mexican flag. That's called da'at. It represents, this is who I am. I am. Here we're talking about the real true identity of a Jew is Hashem. And in fact, the real true identity of every creation is God. But people don't know it. Da'at means knowledge. It says from the language of the man knew his wife and they had children. Knowledge means an intimate connection, a reality. The whole world will be filled with an intimate connection of the reality of the Creator. Everyone will feel it. Like it was in the Holy Temple, like it was in Noah's Ark. Admit, oh, sorry. La'ati level in the future, it'll even be higher than, we said this already. Therefore, the makif for the sukkah, that the whole thing is laman yedu doroteichem. That's what we said before, right here. It says laman yedu, in order that the future generations will know They will know, yed'u. That's the idea of dat, of being attached to. They'll be aware. That's the whole thing of sukkah. So therefore, sukkah that we sit in now brings about a certain degree of peace, something like the level of peace that was in Noah's Ark, and also that will be in the future redemption. And especially, that's why, by the way, it says that in the future, there won't be any other religions. All the other religions are lies, and they'll all be dropped. Why will they be dropped? Because no one feels these other religions are lies. Why are they lies? They help people, and they give people a purpose, they give people a direction, they give people morality. People are afraid to do bad, to kill each other, to this. There's at least they know that there's a higher power, very valuable thing. But in the future, when the Creator is revealed, everyone will realize that these other things are not necessary. They're not necessary. Everybody automatically drop their religions. Ubefrat, and especially according to what it says in the connection of the schach of the sukkah to the incense of Yom Kippur. That the whole thing of the incense of Yom Kippur, it says that this applies to the nose, to the power of smell. And we're made in God's image. This says reaches to the level of Atik. Just like the whole topic of Yom Kippur, that the Yom Kippur has 5 prayers, because the 5 prayers, that's the level of Atik. In Bina, like we said before, that was the whole idea of this Makif. Why is Bina called a Makif? Because the world was created, first of all, there's what's called the 10 Sfirot of God, right? 7 of them are emotions. Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet. 3 of them are intellect. Chachma and Bina. Sometimes it's just Keter, Chachma and Bina. So Bina, therefore, that's God's intellect. That's above the 6 days of creation. The 6 days of creation are God's emotions. We learned that in the Mimor about the Bar Mitzvah Mimor. That's God's emotions. And Bina is God's intellect. So that surrounds the whole creation. It's above and surrounds. So that's the level of Makif. It says that's the whole entire idea of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, and that's also the idea of the Noah's Ark. And that's the idea of the Sukkah. It's all a revelation of Atik. The revelation of Atik, which is the essence of God. Another name for the essence of God. It's called Pnimiyut Keter. This is in Bina. This level of Atik is revealed in the schach of the Sukkah. And that was what was revealed in Noah's Ark. That was what was revealed in the incense of Yom Kippur, that the Kohen took into the Holy of Holies. And that's what will be revealed in the future, that we're working so hard for already 2,000 years to bring, 3,300 years to bring. This brings peace. Therefore, the Sukkah is called Sukkot Shalom Echad. Ine, behold. Okay, so what do we learn here? That the revelation in the Sukkah is this revelation of Atik, the revelation of the Makif, the revelation of the sound of the shofar and the incense of Yom Kippur. It's something like the revelation that was in Noah's Ark, that we see what happened. It wasn't just a theoretical biblical thing. It really caused all the animals to be at peace with one another. And that what was in Noah's Ark is just something like the revelation that's going to be in the future by means of the Mashiach. That the whole world will be filled with an awareness of the Creator. I mean, there can't be anything more obvious than that. I mean, we're being created. Our whole being depends on this Creator that's creating us. And that will be revealed on Yom Kippur. Okay, these ideas are very nice ideas to learn about and to understand. Very impressive. And sitting on the sukkah is very wonderful. But the whole reason that we're learning about this, in fact, the whole reason that God does it, that God makes these revelations and these commandments, that these makifim of sukkah should be drawn, yimshechu, drawn in, v'yifalu, and they should have an effect, gam b'pinimius, also on the inside. In other words, it's not enough that these ideas are surrounding us and that it was wonderful, Noah's Ark, and it's going to be in the future, going to be this big revelation. So that's wonderful, but that's only just to let us know that there was such a thing and that there will be such a thing. But the main thing in Judaism is right now. We use the past. In fact, that's the main thing in life, is right now. We're not alive in the future. We're alive right now. Now becomes the past and eventually becomes the future. But the only thing we really have reality is right now. That's what's going to be when people live forever. It says if Adam hadn't eaten from the tree, and later if the Jews hadn't sinned with the golden calf, people would live forever. Why wouldn't they be bored? Because every second they'll feel the miraculousness, the godliness in every second. They'll feel how amazing it is that we're existing and that we're alive. Well, we don't feel it now, but we should. And that's this idea of the makif, this idea which is above us. It should have an effect, but pinimius in our day-to-day life. And this is the whole topic of taking the four meaning, of taking the lulav and the etrog, etc. And this comes in a continuation of besukot teshvu. Comes in a continuation of what it says, in Sukkot, you should sit right now. The mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah is right in the beginning of the days of Sukkah. Remember, that's what the sikha that we're going to learn soon. We just finished, actually. Why is the holiday called Sukkot? Remember, we learned that sikha? Because the sukkah is the main thing. Immediately when the holiday begins, we sit in the sukkah before we take lulav and esrog. And also the sukkah encompasses us. It's not just done with one limb. It encompasses our whole body. And not only that, it says a sukkah is like a house, and a house affects a person all the time, even when he's not there. To the degree that it says a person without a house is not really a person. But now we're talking about the spiritual aspect of what's going on. It says the whole idea of sukkah is the surrounding aspect of God, this revelation of God, the makif that brought peace to all the animals in Noah's Ark, and it'll bring peace to all mankind. The mitzvah of sitting on the sukkah is for the beginning of the days of Sukkah, and after that, in the morning, as soon as the sun comes up, from one till the sun sets, only then when the sun comes up until when it sets, that's when there's the mitzvah of the four types, lulav, etrog, hadas, etc. This whole idea of taking the four meaning, this is to draw down this makif of sukkah into a pinimius. Like it's explained in Kabbalah, Mishnat Chassidim, Chassidic book, and in Chassidut, lulav and etrog. That's to draw godliness more personal. That the whole idea of shaking the lulav and etrog is to draw down this level of dat. The level of dat, which, as we said, was hidden in the schach of the sukkah, it's a surrounding level, into what's called the nukva, the zer anpin, the receiving aspect of your emotions. And where is this? That is in the chazeh, in the chest of zer anpin. In other words, to make it come home. Therefore, the lulav has to touch your chest. In Chabad, we shake the lulav and etrog a little bit different than everybody else. We do 3 times to the right, 3 times to the left, 3 times in front of us, 3 times up, 3 times down, and 3 times in the back. And each one of these 3 times, we shake once to the right and bring it to our chest. Another time to the right, to the chest. So each one of these 3 times we do to the right, to the left, each one is broken up by bringing the lulav and etrog to your chest. It says the right represents chesed, left represents gevura. In front of you is tiferet, up is netzach, down is hod, and back of you is yesod. That's the first 2. And the last one is malchut. So in other words, the shaking of the lulavs, and the shaking of the lulav is designed to arouse the emotions and to bring these revelations we just talked about into your emotions. Another name for emotions is called zer anpin. And you have to bring it home to your chest, to your heart. In other words, to feel God, the closeness of God, the comfort of God, the reality of Hashem in your emotions. That this idea of drawing down this revelation into nukva, into malchut, the receiving aspect of yourself, this is so that eventually this revelation that began on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and it came down into your schach, but it's above you, hovering above you, not really into your day-to-day life, should be brought into Inyani Olam, to the day-to-day life. Should be brought into day-to-day life until all matters of this world, there's nothing below it. Everything this godliness should be brought into the world. That's the whole idea we said. That the whole world we say it every day, 3 times a day in Aleinu. Yakiru v'yedu koish v'tedu. Therefore, also this peace, which will be brought into the world, which is by means of dat, by means of people knowing and connecting to God and feeling God, this will be by means of the lulav and etrog, and the whole holiday of Sukkot will be brought into this physical world. And this will be bedugmat, something like the future. Shelo yeru v'lo yeshchitu. There will not be, the animals will not harm one another. And human beings won't harm one another. Ki mala ha'oretz de'at Hashem. Because the world will be filled with the knowledge and awareness of the Creator that's creating us, of God. The God that took the Jews out of Egypt and gave them the Torah will be felt by every human being. That's the revelation of that the world will be filled with the knowledge of God. And lo yiru v'lo yishchu. What's the connection to that? That God will be in the world and that people won't hurt each other. Animals won't hurt each other. Lefisha katatat, because all arguments and differing opinions, katatot, and differing opinions and wars, they only come from what's called katnut hadat. This is a very big point. Just think about it. How is it that a lion does not, in Noah's Ark, the lions did not eat up the deers and the antelopes and all these other juicy animals? How could it be? The nature of an animal, of a lion, is to attack. It's to attack, to kill. To kill, to give to its children, to give to whatever, to give. That's its nature. And if not the lion, so there were panthers, there were tigers, there were all sorts of destructive animals. How could it be that they didn't attack? What was it that something didn't trigger off in their minds? That they didn't, I mean, when they came out of the ark, then they became normal again. They were, that's how all the animals we see in the world now, they came from the animals that were in Noah's Ark. How is it that in one full year they didn't harm one another? How could it be? So it says the answer to that is that they felt the Creator. The animals felt their Creator. They felt everything was okay. They knew that God would take care of them. They knew that Noah was there and Noah would take care of them. Right? That's the nature. It's something almost like a herd of sheep. You know, a herd of sheep, they all stay together. Maybe the shepherd has to yell at them once in a while. Maybe he has some dogs or something like that. But generally speaking, because the sheep sense somehow or other that this shepherd is good for them. It's beneficial for them. He protects them. Same thing, these lions, they felt that God is with them, God protects them, God put Noah will give them food. That's what's called big awareness. Katnut adat means that you're only aware of yourself. As soon as you have a feeling, you have to immediately act on it. He starts to be a little bit afraid. That's it. It goes all the way. He starts to get a little angry. Can't stop himself. Keeps convincing himself how he's right. He has a lust. He has a whatever. Suddenly a desire for something. He can't stop himself. He'll sit for weeks and just to plan how to get what he wants. That's called katnut adat. The whole advertising industry is based on this. Smallness, egotism. Right? This is good for me. Ooh, this is what I want. I. Says that's what's called katnut adat. This katnut adat means that I want and don't interfere with me. Everybody is my potential enemy. Or it's my potential. What am I going to get out of it? I. That's called small awareness. You're not aware that you're being created. You're not aware that God loves you, is creating you. And this is, we can see clearly. God makes a special weird thing. This is amazing. People are born small. And when they're small, they're very egotistical. Yodea mashal b'zetz known, a katan, a small child, he hasn't got any dat. A small child has no awareness of God. Kasher ein mamalim rototzono, when he doesn't get what he wants, miyad, immediately he gets angry. Like it's explained in the Tanya. Shakatan mitkaes, a katan gets a child, he gets angry from little things in the 6th chapter. Why does he get angry? Because his mind is too small, which is not the case. An older person, he has that. Before he gets angry, he'll think to himself, one second, maybe the police, maybe I'll make a fool of myself. Maybe, at least he thinks of something. Also, he starts to think, listen, I'm not going to get anything by getting angry. What am I going to get out of it? I'll just make myself miserable. He can use his mind. Yochel Hu Lizbol, he is able to bear even someone who's totally opposite from him. Yes, I understand your opinion. Let me repeat your opinion. Now I want to show you why I don't agree with you. Al-Derech says, similarly, it is also in the peace of the sukkah. That since the sukkah is, like it says, in order that they should know, the whole idea of sukkah is that there should be a greater knowledge and awareness of the Creator, and you just don't think only about yourself. You feel something bigger and more real than yourself is creating you, and you're here for a bigger purpose. And therefore, by means of this dat, this awareness in the sukkah, which is drawn down by means of the sukkah, there is made peace. Everything, all the animals, everything becomes less egotistical and more aware of the Creator. Even the lions, the animals, they become more aware of the Creator. You don't have to pay attention to your urges. You don't have to pay attention to negative things. You don't have to react negatively to anything. God will take care of you. Don't worry about it. You see these people that are sitting in prison because they stole. There's billions of people in the world that don't steal. And they get along. They live. So they don't have a nice big fancy car, and they don't have, new silk shoes, silk shirts, and $2,000 shoes or whatever they have, big diamond rings, and Right? Okay, but also they're not sitting in prison. They're getting along. How can a person that's a thief, not steal? He has to say to himself, listen, if I just act honestly, God will take care of me. And that's the truth. Not only that, because people are dishonest, so it wrecks it up for hundreds, thousands, millions, billions of other people. Right? There's enough food to go around in the world. If there wasn't bureaucracy, whatever, then food would be distributed and health would be all over the world. This is that's the idea of revealing the Creator in the world. Then there will be peace in the whole world. When everyone feels the Creator, the problems of the world come from false egotism, selfishness. And because of that, there's a lack of peace, a lack of harmony, a lack of good in the world. How do you draw this down? It says by means of the lulav and etrog. That's one way, but there's a little bit deeper way, and we'll talk about that, God willing, tomorrow.